another relaxing keyboard unboxing. Today's keyboard is a very special one, which you can probably already tell just by looking at this beautiful box. This is probably the most aesthetically appealing box I have ever unboxed, ever seen for a keyboard. And I've seen some pretty nice ones, but I think this one takes the cake. Today, we are going to be unboxing and testing out the AKKO PC75B Plus Year of the Tiger Edition. This is a 75% keyboard from AKKO, who has made quite a name for themselves in the budget to mid-range keyboard space as providing very good value and high quality for the price. And of course, the PC75B Plus is one of their standard boards that they offer, but this special Year of the Tiger edition is themed around the Year of the Tiger in the Chinese zodiac. And of course, we're coming up to the end of the Year of the Tiger, so now is a fantastic time to pick up something like this if you want to commemorate the Year of the Tiger before it rolls over into the Year of the Rabbit next, I suppose. Maybe you're just a fan of tigers, or maybe the Year of the Tiger is your year, or maybe you just like beautiful looking and unique keyboards. There's a lot of reasons why you might want to pick up something like this. And I'm really excited to see what the board itself looks like, because if the box looks this nice, I bet you the board is something pretty special too. It's also been quite some time since I checked out a board from AKKO, and I'm very keen to see how they've come along and improved, especially given their very positive reputation in the keyboard enthusiast space these days. This keyboard was sent over by mechkeys.com, who I've worked with in the past. Mechkeys.com has an outrageous variety of mechanical keyboards and components. They have so many different options. There is a link, of course, to this particular product down in the video description if you'd like to check it out. And of course, you can check out and browse their entire selection as well. Lots of fun boards that you can get from MechKeys. So this is a sponsored video, not a formal review. It's going to be an unboxing and inspection and typing test, of course. So thank you to mechkeys.com for sponsoring this video. All right, well, let's get into things here. So we have, of course, the front of this box, which is this beautiful, just suffused in orange scene with a powerful tiger roaring, it looks like, towards the setting sun. Beautiful building back here. This gorgeous landscape around it. Looks like a drum down here, maybe. Lovely stylized trees, rocks, and a cloud. Looks like a peony over here. And a crane, I suppose, flying in the sky. What a gorgeous piece of art. I don't know what this says, but I'm guessing it's probably the artist's signature. So, and I don't know if this piece was commissioned specifically for this board, but it's beautiful. Most of the board, or the box, has this matte texture, but the tiger itself and some elements of the foreground are glossy, which helps them pop, which is really nice. Moving around the board, we have some information here. I got so caught up in the beautiful aesthetics of this board, I forgot to tell you about the technical details. So, as it says here, AKKO PC75B Plus. Looks like a AKKO signature of authenticity here, perhaps. This keyboard is available with a handful of switches, including a few from AKKO itself. In this case, however, we have a switch from TTC. TTC is another company with an excellent reputation for high-quality switches at reasonable prices. And this comes with the TTC Flame Red switch, which I've never used before, but I'm guessing it's probably a linear switch, and the Flame Red really fits the aesthetic of this board. And I believe that it is factory lubed, so really looking forward to that. One of my favorite switches of last year was the TTC Ace switch, which was a beautiful linear switch, excellent stability, excellent smoothness, great sound signature. So really keen to feel and hear the TTC Flame Reds. We've got some warnings and certifications, and we have some information from AKKO here, including their website and all that sort of thing. Around the back, no information, just another beautiful graphic. We have here the tiger, which we've got half the face is the tiger and half is some kind of Chinese character, perhaps a character for tiger. I'm not certain. Behind it, this big tiger claw, and then some other elements around the edges here, like a lantern and firecrackers, these sorts of things. Very festive and very aesthetically appealing. On the bottom edge, just the AKKO branding, AKKOgear.com, and nothing on these edges because, as you can see, this is a slip cover. So we will slide it off in just a moment here and take a look at the box within, which appears to just be black, but we will see. Gosh, what a beautiful piece of art on the front. I just really like it. It's really nice. Gorgeous box. Okay, let's slide it out here. There's that slip cover. And inside we are greeted with just a very reserved black box here with AKKO branding, the AKKO logo, which I've always thought was a little goofy. I think it's a cat skull wearing headphones. I've never been quite sure how that relates to mechanical keyboards, but maybe AKKO, has other products too. I only know them from their keyboards, but it's a pretty color though, and it's in foil stamped. So that's kind of nice. And that's it. That's all we've got. And it looks like it opens with a tab on the front here. So inside, we have not a lot going on. Initially, we have some cardboard up here. There's probably accessories hiding under here. And we've got some padding foam. Always nice to see. Keeping our keyboard well protected in there. Inside, we have, once again, some padding foam on both edges here, so this keyboard should be very nicely, protected in shipping. Shouldn't shift around or get damaged. The keyboard itself is here inside a foam bag. We will remove it for the moment, and we will come back to it shortly. We will look at the accessories and such first. Ooh, it's heavy. Heavier than I expected. This board does have wireless in the form of both Bluetooth 5.0 and 2.4 gigahertz wireless. And it's got a 3000 milliamp hour battery, which is no doubt contributing to the weightiness of the keyboard itself. Let's just set that aside for the moment. Here we have our 2.4 gigahertz USB receiver. So if you have a device with a USB port, that will provide a higher quality connection, a faster, lower latency connection than the Bluetooth, which will likely have better range as well. But of course you need a device with a USB port, and it will drain the battery faster as well. Fortunately, it's AKKO branded, which means that if you have other USB receivers, you're not likely to confuse this, get this mixed up with them. And I know for many people that's not a problem, but for me it surely is, because I have so many wireless keyboards. So it's easy to get them confused or mixed up, the receivers that is, if they're not sort of uniquely branded or aesthetically unique. Underneath that, we have some kind of certification, maybe a little inspection approval item. We have the user manual, PC75B Plus, multi-mode mechanical keyboard. All kinds of information about layout, hotkeys, secondary function layer, presumably backlight control. Here we go. Here's the English. Yeah, media keys, system commands, both Windows and Mac modes available, backlight settings, Bluetooth setup. So it looks fairly comprehensive, and it's nice to see that it's fully in English as well. Packing foam. And this must house the cable. Indeed it does. That's everything in there. Oh, it makes nice sounds though. And then inside there we have the USB cable as anticipated, but it is a gorgeous flame red color matched cable. Love it. With this vinyl PVC sleeving. On this end we've got USB type A, gold plated with a nice little protective cap. The gold and the red look so good together. Little ferrite bead. An AKKO branded hook and loop cable wrap. And USB Type-C on the end that connects to the keyboard. Again, gold plated with a little cap on it. Nice to see. Looks to be of reasonable length, perhaps 2.5 or 3 feet, probably. Great. Love it. And a fairly generic looking keycap puller. Without any branding or anything on it, but it is the wire style, so that will be kinder to the keycaps than the loop style would be. Shouldn't scratch them or anything like that. And that, as you can see, is that. We have an empty box here, so it's time to move that aside and take a look at the main event. We have the keyboard itself in this foam kind of bag. Underneath which, holy cow, wow, underneath which is the board. But not just the board, we also have a dust cover here with AKKO branding on it. And here is the keyboard itself. And holy cow, there's a lot going on here. It is certainly visually striking, and I think quite appealing if this is the aesthetic you're going for. But probably not for everyone or every desk. But for a Year of the Tiger special edition board, I think it looks fantastic. Lots of red and sort of a beigey gold. I suspect it's, a lot of luck symbolism here. Where to start? Well, let's start first of all with the layout. That I can talk about. We'll talk about the keycaps and more about the aesthetics shortly. But the layout is a standard exploded 75% layout. You see this on quite a few boards these days. It was perhaps popularized by boards like the GMMK Pro, but many others have adopted this layout in the last year or two. Quite notably, we have a big metal rotary encoder over here, otherwise known as a knob. But it provides, by default, probably volume control, but I suspect it could be rebound for other functions in the software. Also has a nice click to it there. It is made of metal, and it has nice, solid feeling little detents in it, little notches as you spin it. So that you can dial in whatever you're dialing more precisely. But that's one of the biggest aesthetic elements over here, this lovely oversized rotary encoder. We have, of course, our full F row of keys up here, plus one additional key because we're slightly condensed in our F row layout. We have our main portion of alphanumeric keys over here with our beautiful modifiers. We have our dedicated arrow keys down here in the bottom right, just slightly set apart from the rest of the keys. It gives it this nice aesthetic and allows you to find it more easily with your fingers. in order to accommodate the dedicated arrow keys, we have a shortened right shift key, and then our right modifier keys have been compressed from the standard 1.25U, like we have on the left over here, to simple 1U keys, like we have on the right. Down the right side, we have a vertical strip of nav cluster keys. So I don't know exactly what these do because they don't say, but there are things like this is probably delete, I'm guessing. Bet you we have a page up, page down, an end and a home or something like that here. So that's the basic layout, and it's a very functional one. It's honestly one of my favorite layouts. I think it's the perfect balance of functionality and compact ergonomics. But we've got more going on here. Our gorgeous red case is made of ABS plastic, very solid, not a hint of hollowness in there. Very simply just a USB Type-C port on the back here, nothing else. No mode switches or anything for the wireless, which suggests to me that it's all done with keyboard shortcuts. Here on the one end, we can see again a very simple wedge-shaped case here with a couple, maybe 2 or 3 degrees of inclination to it. We also get a good look at our keycaps, the profile of our keycaps here. These keycaps are, I believe, AKKO's own profile, JDA profile, which you can see is a spherical profile from the side. It looks an awful lot like SA or MT3 or any of those other spherical type profiles. It's not a flat profile, it is sculpted, so we have different heights for different rows, which is ergonomically pleasing. And the top of each keycap is lightly scooped. So it's a very SA-like profile, but it's apparently slightly different in its dimensions. Overall, it gives a feeling of a really nice custom board with some attention paid to it. And a bit of a retro vibe. I always find these spherical profile caps in the SA style have a bit of a retro feel to them because, of course, SA profile and similar spherical profiles were used on a lot of old computers from the 70s, 80s, and also on old terminals. So old typewriters as well. I think the old IBM Selectrics used a lot of those types of profiles, SA-like profiles. Here's, of course, our big rotary encoder. More keycaps. Again, nothing around this side. And nothing around the front either. Very reserved aesthetics for the case. It's a very simple design. Around the back, there's our mode switch. Here we must have one somewhere. The beautiful fire red carries right around to the back. We have here a mode switch, but it's not for wireless as I thought it might be. Rather, it's for Mac versus Windows mode. Back there. Okay, so this is a wireless. It is a wireless switch. We switch to USB for the wired connectivity. And then for wireless mode, we choose Windows or Mac compatibility. That's kind of nice. You can also see we've got underlighting, which shines right through this mostly opaque but ever so slightly translucent red case. And will probably shine out the edges a bit, which is kind of nice. But that's arrayed around the bottom side of the PCB. Turn that off for now. We have, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4 anti-slip silicone feet, so it's stable on your desk. We have 2-stage feet, so you can adjust the typing angle if you like so. And on the end of each, we have little silicone feet. And then finally, in the center on the back, we have some branding and a little bit of information. AKKO, touch the fashion since 2016. The last AKKO board I reviewed, gosh, it must have been almost back in 2016. I think it was 2017, maybe 2018. So the company wasn't very old at that time, and it has definitely grown since then. Like I said, gained a very positive reputation amongst enthusiasts. So, it feels very solid. Listen. Not a hint of hollowness there. It sounds and feels very dense. That's probably due to all the dampening that AKKO has put in there. They've got silicone switch pads as well as dampening foam and a silicone dampener in there. So it should be very nicely controlled in its acoustic characteristics, and the typing should feel very solid and dampened. I will say there's a little bit of creakiness to the top plate here, or the top case, I should say. I think that's to do with the way that it connects to the bottom. But I think once we kind of press the creakiness out, I don't think it's going to be a problem, especially when typing. So let's talk about these keycaps, because holy cow. These are, as I said, the JDA profile keycaps. They are dye sublimated, which means the legends are not merely printed on, but they are essentially infused into the plastic. And what legends they are, let's start up here. We have a tiger head to start with. Then we have our basic F-row keys. Then we have a tiger swipe going on over here. Our backspace key is a tiger with 2022 on it, of course, being the year of the tiger. We've got, maybe that's a character for tiger, I'm guessing. Look at the Q, you guys. Look at the subtle features here. The Q looks like it has a little tiger tail sticking off of it, and many of the letters have tiger stripes on them. The D has tiger claws, tiger stripes, a tiger's eye for the O, all kinds of fun stuff on the alphanumeric, and this kind of stylized M. I'm not sure why it's different, but there it is. But the real star of the show is the modifier keys, which, as you can see, have no standard legend on them. Instead, they look like a beautiful painting. That lovely art on the front of the keyboard box is replicated here across our modifier keys with the beautiful stylized mountains, the clouds. Our space bar features our building, maybe a temple or palace in the background there, and our roaring tiger right there. And it wraps all the way around to our gorgeous trees on the right, the setting sun, and that beautiful crane flying into the sunset there. Really quite stunning. And I should point out, it's not just on the tops. It wraps all the way around the edges. So they're 5-sided, dye sublimated, beautiful flower down here. And that's on all the sides. So you get this really nice all over print kind of effect. The dye sublimation is very high quality. You can look and see, very sharp. No bleeding or blurring. looks great. Then over here we've got some sort of gold legends on red keycaps, or arrow keys, or tiger paws, of course. And then our nav cluster column over here has those characters that we saw, or those graphics that we saw on the back of the box: a lantern, a firecrackers, looks to be a drum, and not sure what this is. Maybe a bowl of something. I'm not quite sure. Then we have 3 indicator lights here. That'll be for caps lock, scroll lock, probably maybe some wireless indicators as well. So, wow, that's quite the board aesthetically. I've never seen anything quite like it, you guys. Underneath here are those AKKO Flame Red switches. Let's take a look at those. I do not believe this is a hot-swappable board. Actually, no. You know what? I think I'm wrong. Well, we'll find out. I say that because, of course, we only have the keycap puller, not a switch puller here, which usually indicates that it's not hot swap. But now that I think about it, I think I might have seen mention of TTC hot swap sockets in the marketing materials. So we'll look into that in a moment. We'll take a quick look at the keycaps here. Oh, they are good. AKKO is well known for high quality, good value keycaps, and these ones absolutely live up to that reputation. Look how thick that is. Oh, that's as good as anything you get from, the big, expensive brands. That looks fantastic. Let's take a look at one of these die sub, 5-sided die sub caps. So as you can see, die sublimation goes around all the sides. And once again, nice and thick. Really solid, like 0% flex there. So that's lovely. That's really nice to see. So why did I put that back on? We're going to look at the switch. So there is our TTC Flame Red. And it's got an interesting feature. It's got a big lens up on the top there, which is no doubt to transmit the light from the north-facing SMD LED, which sits underneath. You can see the plate as well is in a matching red. I believe the plate is plastic on this, but we'll take off a couple more caps and find out. The plastic plate, positioning plate, might be preferred by some people because it can provide a flexier, bouncier kind of typing feel. And it is indeed plastic. Sounds and feels it anyway. Let's investigate whether these are hot swappable. Got my switch puller here. Let's find out, shall we? Whether these are going to come out. Yes, the answer is yes. Unequivocally so. So here we've got a closer look at our TTC Flame Red. Listen to that bottom out sound. That's lovely. Just listen. A nice sounding switch. TTC just kills it. I'm really impressed with their stuff. TTC branding on the top housing. This beautiful deep red top housing in a more or less opaque plastic, slightly translucent, but only slightly. The stem Cherry MX compatible with the cross style stem, but you can see we've also got a surrounding box-like structure. This provides extra stability, and I think it's a large part of why the TTC Ace switches feel so darn stable. This is, of course, a linear switch, as you can see in here. Smooth action from top to bottom. No bump along the way. And relatively light. Probably around 40 grams actuation force. The rebound sound is great too. Listen. Overall, a really pleasing sounding switch. It's a 3-pin, so we have 2 contact pins and a central stem there. And here is that translucent piece of plastic which acts as a lens. As you can see, it allows really strong transmission of light from underneath. So that should help the LEDs shine through, despite the fact that the switch itself is largely opaque, which the rest of it's not going to transmit much light. Looking at the board, we see a silicone switch pad underneath the switch, which should provide a nice dampened bottom-out sound and feel. We have a north-facing LED, which will shine through that lens. And we have a 3-pin design, so you will want to be careful if you are planning to swap out the switches that you get 3-pin switches, or if you get 5-pin switches, just know that you'll have to cut off the stabilizer switches on either side. A little bit of a pain, but not too bad. Definitely doable should you want to. So that is the story there. I'm very glad that it is hot swappable. Like I said, I was kind of confused. I couldn't remember. A little bit strange that they don't include a switch puller, considering that they are hot swap. This is just one that I have, but you can pick up switch pullers for very cheap, like probably $1 or less online if you really want to. And if you have other keyboards, chances are good perhaps they came with one. So, all right. And I know that many people don't have other keyboards. I recognize that. My situation is somewhat unique, where I have untold numbers of switch pullers and keycap pullers, but perhaps you do. Hard to know. So, the one other item I'd like to check here is, of course, the stabilized keys. I always say the stabilized keys are the most important piece of the puzzle when it comes to a good sounding, good feeling, premium kind of typing experience. And they're also one of the hardest parts to get right from the factory. The stabilized keys are, of course, the ones that sit underneath these longer, or the stabilizers, I should say, sit underneath these longer keys. They prevent them from wobbling or rocking around. And I don't know what AKKO may have done with them, but hopefully they have lubed them. I suspect they're padded underneath. We saw the switch pads, silicone pads there. And I hope they sound and feel smooth. Let's find out. We'll start with the backspace. Really good. Very good. The enter. Fantastic. Great stability. Wonderful feel. Not a hint of a click or a tick. Exemplary, really. Left shift. So there's a little bit of a tick on that one. But honestly, still really good. Like, better than most stabilized keys on most keyboards. And actually, now that I've used it a little bit, it almost sounds like that tick is working itself out. And the hardest of all to get right the space bar. Let's hear it. So a little bit of a tick on that one as well, but the good news is it's most of the way there, and it's very easy to mod your own stabilizers, to put a little bit of lube in there to tighten that up. Just a little bit of a tick, and it probably just needs a bit more lube on the wire, is what I'm guessing. Sometimes the hinges, the corners of the wire where they clip into the stabilizers on each side are not quite lubed heavily enough, and you get just a bit of rattle in there. I suspect that's what's going on. As far as what type of stabilizers we have, I'm guessing we have the standard Cherry MX style plate mount. Oh wow, look at the color. It's not the color I expected for the stabs. I expected black or maybe white, but that was quite vivid. Yes, you can see we've got the standard plate mount style. Easy to pop out should you want to. Add a little bit of lube too. You can see there's definitely lube in there on the wire. Right in there. Quite a bit. But it looks like it stops short of the bend. And so maybe that's where it needs a little bit more. Although the backspace did sound very good, so can't complain about that one. Overall, really impressive, very good. I would say more commonly these days, manufacturers are starting to really pay attention to their stabilizers, and it's more and more common for me to hear boards with nicely tuned stabs, which is a trend that I am all about, and this one definitely nails it. So, all right, my friends. Well, we will, of course, get to a typing test, but first, let's take a look at the RGB on this thing, because clearly it's got some going on, and we'll look a little bit at the secondary functions and things like that as well. So let's take a look at the RGB. And here we have the PC75B Plus Year of the Tiger edition. That's quite the mouthful, that name. Plugged in the USB connected mode, obviously. And we've got the backlight on. So it probably doesn't look very bright to you, and that's because it's not very bright. But it's also because I have a dim light on in order to also illuminate the rest of the board. So hopefully you can see the backlight and the rest of the board. Sometimes it's hard to balance the lighting for that, but what you probably immediately notice is we do have an edge light that's racing around the bottom of the case here, which is kind of unique. And then we have a fixed rainbow backlight that's not animated or anything right now. This is, of course, a board without shine-through caps. These are opaque keycaps, and so as a result, not a whole lot of light comes through. Probably the switches contribute to that as well. However, it is visible even with this light on that I have right now, and in a dark room, it is certainly visible. We have a variety of controls over the backlight, of course. Here, function L turns it on and off. So there it is, off, on, off, on, and that covers both the backlight and the edge light. As far as the backlight itself goes, we have a variety of different effects under function, and then these four keys over here. We can cycle through 5 effects here, 5 here, 5 here, 5 here. We can also cycle through brightness settings with function up and down. So it's as bright as it gets right now, but we can bring it down a few steps. Looks like 4 or 5 steps in total. There it's off. There it is at maximum brightness again. And once we switch the effect for it to be animated on the backlight here, function left and right will adjust the speed of that effect. As far as the edge lighting and case lighting here goes, that's controlled over here on the left. So function left control will change that effect. So that appears to be off entirely. That's just a fixed on, I think. There's a breathing effect. Again, we're talking exclusively about the edge lighting here, which hopefully you can see. There's kind of a pulsing effect. And then we're back to that kind of shooting around effect like we had to start with. I'm going to turn that off for now entirely, just so that, well, actually, one more thing. Let's just set it back to, sure. How about the pulsing? We can control that effect in terms of brightness and speed with function Z and X. So I think function Z cycles brightness settings. Yeah, it appears to. Because there's minimum brightness is off. And then we're increasing in brightness as we go. Off again. 1, 2, 3, 4. That appears to be the brightest there. And function X is the speed. There, we've slowed it down quite a bit. That's a little less frantic. I kind of prefer that. Or honestly, I kind of prefer it off, if I'm being completely truthful. Simply because, I mean, you know, it's a nice glowing effect, but you can't really see any RGB per se, because it just kind of glows through the red case. Now, maybe that's an effect that you like. Maybe that's what you're going for. You could pair it with a red backlight, and I bet you that would look pretty good. But yeah, you can see the LEDs along the edge of the PCB in there, on the side here and on the front edge. So, but yeah, you can turn it off entirely with function left control. There it is. Oh, there. And I'm going to leave it like that for now, just so that we can focus on the backlight here. So like I said, function and then these various keys here let us cycle through different effects. So this is you can probably see that pretty well. Reactive waves of color. This is reactive under each key you press. Oh, this is kind of a working its way back and forth. This is shooting lines of color. And we're back to the solid effect. What's under this one? Okay, kind of a raindrops effect. Breathing through different colors. Sort of rapid waves of color. More rapid waves of color, but different. And I think this is sort of inside out. Let's slow that down, see if we can actually. Oh, wait, no, I lied. That's not speed, that's direction. Left and right, as you can see. Fascinating. Okay. I think function plus and minus might be speed. There we go. Yes, that's correct. So that has slowed it down a bit. Let's check under here. Gosh, there's lots of effects. 20 effects in total. The classic come into the middle, shoot out. Another reactive effect. Some more RGB. And if you are on any of these RGB type effects and you want it as a single color, function backslash lets you cycle through a variety of single colors. And eventually you'll get back to the RGB. There's 7 or 8 different single colors you can cycle through. Another kind of breathing mode. More shooting colors. A sine wave, always a bit extra. Sort of more twinkling stars effect. Goodness. And cycling through colors. And then we're back to the solid. So, yeah, I mean, a variety of different lighting effects, despite the fact that RGB is not really the selling point of this board. I honestly think that the aesthetic of the rest of it, the keycaps and the case and everything together, is more than enough on its own. But it's good to know that all those RGB options are there should you want them. We'll turn the RGB off for now. Worth noting that that can all be configured in the software as well, which we're not going to be looking at here in the video for the sake of time, but on AKKO's website, it's easily found and downloaded under the download section, and then just search PC75B. You can find it for both Windows and Mac on AKKO's website. Worth noting, there are some media function keys, function and the F-row keys up here for, play, pause, skip track, all that kind of thing. And function, and I believe it's these three here are volume up, down, and mute. Actually, no, these three here, N, M, and comma. And then, of course, we have the wireless controls for Bluetooth and the 2.4 gigahertz wireless. Those are under function E, R, T, Y, and U, I believe. The first three are for swapping between bound Bluetooth devices. Y is for switching to the 2.4 gigahertz mode. And then function U switches back to the wired mode. And of course, you've got that mode switch on the back as well for flipping between Windows and Mac. And that is pretty much that. All the various keys can be remapped, of course, in the software as well. And it's a pretty tight little package. And of course, you've got volume control over here by default on the rotary encoder. So, with all of that done, I think it's time to listen to this thing. And I've got the feeling it's going to be a pretty nice sounding board, just from what we've heard as we've been handling it and checking it out. So, without further ado, let's get on with the typing test. have it, my friends, the AKKO PC75B Plus Year of the Tiger Edition in action. I think it's a pretty nice sounding board. It's got a nice soft dampened sound, but it's a little sharper than some other boards I've been using lately, just because, probably, I'm guessing, it lacks the gasket mount. Nonetheless, it still has a really pleasantly muted sound, but I think some people might actually appreciate the slightly sharper report of these keys compared to the really, some might say, over-dampened sound that you can get with the gasket-mounted boards these days. Certainly very satisfying to type on. The switches are smooth, pleasantly weighty, nicely stable, and the keycaps are really pleasant. I like this profile quite a bit. It's reminiscent of something kind of like SA, but it's a little bit different, and it feels nice. Very easy to get used to. In terms of the layout and functionality of the board, pardon me, I love a 75% board. I think it's maybe the ideal layout. With the rotary encoder, we have that extra functionality as well. And I've really enjoyed using this board. I found it to be very functional, especially for me editing video and things. I use the home and end keys a lot, which are by default bound here and there. So that's really nice. The dedicated arrow keys, of course, always a boon. And I actually use the F row keys quite a bit as well. So 75% fantastic layout. Overall, looks great, sounds great, functions very well. In terms of the aesthetics, obviously, it's not going to be for everyone. This is a very opinionated set of aesthetics. It's not going to fit on every desk or with every color scheme. But if you are looking for a Year of the Tiger keyboard, it's a pretty darn good one. And, there's a lot of reasons you might be. Maybe you just like the aesthetic, right? Maybe you like tigers, like I said. Maybe the Year of the Tiger is your year and you want to commemorate the year that has just passed us by. In which case, the AKKO PC75B Plus Year of the Tiger Edition is an excellent way to do so as we say goodbye to the Year of the Tiger and look forward to the Year of the Rabbit. So, and of course the quality of the keycaps and, all that is excellent. The dye sub job is very good. The aesthetics are very strong. So, a very cool board, a very unique board. I've never checked out one of these, Zodiac special edition boards, but it does seem like there's sort of a niche for these. And I'll be curious to perhaps check out more in the future. Maybe you'll see a Year of the Rabbit board on this channel at some point over the next year. We shall see. Of course, if you're interested in checking this out, picking it up, you can check it out at the link down below, which links to which links to mechkeys.com, who kindly provided this sample for us to check out here today. I did notice that their stock looked pretty limited when I last checked it, but you might be able to put in a back order. It's also available elsewhere online. I've seen it around. The price seems to range from about $120 to $140, depending on how it's configured. I believe as configured with the Flame Reds, I believe it's $140 from MechKeys. But very cool little board. I've enjoyed using it. I will probably continue to use it for the next while because I like how it feels, I like how it sounds, I like how it functions, and it's a really fun aesthetic, especially at this time of year around the Lunar New Year. So do check that out down below at the link in the video description. Big thank you again to MechKeys for sponsoring this video. Thank you to all of you for watching. I hope you found this informative. I hope you found it relaxing. And I look very forward to having you back here next time. Happy last bit of the Year of the Tiger, and I'll see you next time. Farewell for now, my friends.